Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are beginning Unit 11, which is about measurement. So tonight's lesson is called Measurement with the Metric System, which is not in SWAN. This is just something that I think will help us as we start this new unit. So our goal is that we're going to use a mnemonic device to help me convert measurements in the metric system. We've used a lot of these mnemonic devices in math when we thought about like never eat sour watermelons, or if we use PEMDAS. It's just kind of a little memory tool to help us. Okay, so our vocab is, what is the metric system? Well, the metric system is actually the international system of measurement. International means worldwide. So in the entire world, they use a system called the metric system. Now, the U.S., though, not us, but U.S., United States, uses a totally different system of measurement. So we use something called the U.S. customary system, which is the standard unit of measurement in the United States. Again, we're the only country in the whole world who doesn't use the metric system. As we go throughout this lesson and this unit, I think you'll see why the rest of the countries use the metric system. It's a much easier system to work with than our system. Okay, so this whole lesson is not going to be on the US system though. It's going to be on the metric system. Okay, so I'm going to actually draw an arrow down here. So in the metric system, they have 3 standard units of measurement. So when they're measuring length, they use something called meters. Okay, so meter is how they measure length, and the abbreviation for that would just be an M. Okay, now we're going to see that we have feet, you've probably heard of it, inches and yards and miles. They only have one, but then they have prefixes that go in front of theirs. So you might have heard of some of these. They also have a kilometer, which the abbreviation would be km. Then they have something also called the centimeter, which is on most of our rulers in America. Centimeter, which the abbreviation is cm. And they also have something called millimeters, which the abbreviation would be mm. So what I want you to kind of notice about these abbreviations is when there's just a single one, this is what we call the base measurement. Notice how the base, they all have the word meter in it. This is their main measurement. So the meter part is at the end. When it has 2 letters in the abbreviation, sorry, that got cut off a little bit. When it has 2 letters in the abbreviation, that means you have the base measurement plus a prefix. Okay, so meter is their only unit for length. Okay, when they're measuring weight in the metric system, they use something called a gram. Now you've probably heard in America for weight we use pounds and ounces. They use something called a gram, and the abbreviation is a G. Okay, so what we're going to be dealing with is something called a kilogram, which then the abbreviation is going to be the K for kilo and the G for gram. And we're also going to be talking about milligrams. And again, milli means the prefix, so we need an M, and then G for gram. So the abbreviation would be mg. So again, when it's just one letter in the abbreviation, that's the base measurement. And when there's 2 letters in the abbreviation, you know it's a prefix with the base measurement. Okay, for volume, what they use to measure volume, now remember we learned volume means what's inside a container. So we're not really talking about blocks anymore or boxes. We're talking about more like milk containers or soda containers. So we're talking about more liquid fluids. So they use something called a liter. which if you've heard of a 2-liter soda bottle. Okay, the abbreviation for liter is an L, and it's usually capital L. We've talked about this before in math, that when it's an L, we usually do capital so it doesn't get confused as a 1. So we have a liter. We also could have a milliliter. So for milliliter, the abbreviation is going to be M for milli, and then for liter, we'll have the L. Okay, so even though there's a lot going on here, really, these are the only 3 measurements. All length is in meters, all weights in grams, and all volumes in liters. Okay, so now on to our mnemonic device. This is how we're going to learn to convert, which means going back and forth between different measurements. We're going to learn this sentence called King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. And we are going to write that again and again and again for the next month. So King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Okay, what does this help us remember? Well, it helps us remember all the parts of the metric system. So the K stands for kilo. So K. The H stands for hecto, which if you notice, we never talked about hecto. So this is a prefix, it's just not one that we're going to be using. The D stands for deca. Oh, I forgot the H. So this B is the most important. This B stands for your base measurement. So these are our base measurements. Okay, the little d stands for deci. The C stands for centi. And the M stands for milli. Okay, so the ones that we're going to be dealing with are kilo, obviously the base, centi, and milli. We can't ignore these even though we're not using them in 5th grade because they hold kind of a spot. So King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. And our base measurements are what we had up here. Our base could be a meter, it could be a gram, or it could be a liter. Okay, so we're not going to always have to write out the words King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk, but we're going to constantly say it. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Okay, so what are our steps? Okay, our first step is we are going to rewrite the number you are converting. And converting means they're asking you to change it. And you're going to add a decimal if it does not have one. If it has one, you're good to go. Okay, then notice I'm not making you write out the whole sentence. Instead, we're going to write this, but we're going to say, King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. But we're really only going to write the letters each time. Okay, then you're going to write in the 2 measurements you are working with below. Then we're going to go back to those loops we've used time and time again. Using loops, we're going to move from one measurement to the other. Then you're going to move your decimal the same number of loops in the same direction. Okay, so what does this all really look like? Okay, well, eventually you're going to be getting some pretty complex word problems, but we're just going to start with some just basic, them asking us to convert. So here's my first problem. Okay, so what this problem's telling me is 717 and 41 kilograms is equal to how many milligrams? So if I look back at my notes, I see grams is a base measurement. This is kind of in the middle. As you get over to kilo, it's a lot larger of a measurement, and milli's really small. So you've probably seen like centimeters and millimeters on a ruler. Okay, on the ruler, the centimeters are bigger and the millimeters are smaller. And we'll be looking at a lot of those in class. Okay, so what does my first step say to do? I'm going to rewrite the number that I'm converting, add a decimal if it does not have one. So they want me to convert this number. I'm just going to rewrite it over here. And I didn't have to add a decimal because it already had one. Okay, next, they want me to write, King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So I'm going to come over here and write it. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Every time I write it, I say it. That way I'll learn it faster. And notice I left some space in between. Okay, next they said they want me to write in the two measurements I'm working with. Okay, well I'm working this time with kilogram. So I'm working with kilos over here. And then they want me to turn a kilogram into a milligram, and millis over here. It's kilogram and milligram. I'm actually not doing the gram on this one, the base measurement, which a lot of times you will be. Okay, now, using loops, I'm going to move from one measurement to the other. So they want me to move from kilo to milli. Okay, so I'm starting here. I'm going to go not to the hecto, not to deca, not to my base, not to deci, not to centi, but I'm going to go all the way to milli. So how many did I move? I moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I moved 6. Okay, my next step says move your decimal the same number of loops, the same direction. Okay, ready? So now I have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need to move it all the way over there. Okay, now just like we've done in the past, I have a lot of empty ones. So I need to fill them in with zeros. So that means 717.41 kilograms is the same, it's worth the same or equal to, wow, let's add all these zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's worth the same as 717,410,000 milligrams. The reason is because a kilogram's a lot and milligrams are really tiny. So you're taking a lot and you're putting it into something smaller. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so my next one is 45, what is M? When it's by itself, it's the base measurement. So it's not milli because it's by itself. So remember when we said when there's just one, it's the base measurement? So that would be 45 meters equals how many centimeters? Okay, so I'm going to first write my number and add a decimal if it doesn't have one. Then I'm going to write King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Okay, and they want me to work with meters. This is a little tricky because this is an M, but that's not what I'm talking about. M is milli. The meters is my base measurement. So meters is here, and I'm also going to work with centimeters. So centi is here. Okay, so I'm going to move from meters to centi. So I'm going to go from here, not to deci, but all the way to centi. So I moved 1, 2 to the right. So I'm going to move this 1, 2 to the right, and I end up getting 45 meters is the same as 4,500 centimeters. Okay, I'm going to try one more with you guys. Okay, ready? So I'm going to write my number I'm converting. This one already had a decimal. Okay, now I see ml. So this is milliliters and liters. Okay, my next step is, though, King Henry died by, drinking, chocolate, milk. Okay, so I'm dealing with milli, and I'm dealing with liters. Liters is a base measurement. So meters, liters, and grams are my base measurements. Okay, this time they want me to move from milli to liters. So they want me to go 1, 2, 3 to the left. Okay, so ready? 1, 2, 3 to the left. So my answer is decimal 0078. So 7.8 milliliters is the same as 78. We would have to say this is tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So 78 10,000ths of a liter. Okay, let's try some together and see how you're feeling with this. All right, my first one. Okay, I see the M for meters, so I know I'm doing a length. The meters is length. Okay. Okay, so let's get our number written. Our number is 7 69/100ths, and it already has a decimal. That's step 1. Step 2 is we're gonna write our little cheat sheet or mnemonic device to help us. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Okay, and for this problem, I'm dealing with M for meters. Meters is a base measurement for length. And I'm dealing with centimeters. Okay, so I wrote those in. And now I'm going from meters to centi. So I went 1, 2 to the right. So ready? 1, 2 to the right. So my answer is 769 decimal, but you really don't need the decimal. So it could just be 769 centimeters. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, this one I see I'm dealing with milligrams and grams. So grams is the base measurement of how they measure weight. Okay, so my first step is I'm gonna write my number. I don't need to write the comma if it will confuse me, but what I do need to do is when it doesn't have a decimal, add one. Okay, so let's write, ready. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Okay, so for this problem, I'm working with milligrams. So milli, and G is a base measurement for grams. So that's how they measure weight again. Okay, so they want us to move from milli to gram. So they want us to go not to centi, not to deci, but to base grams. So I moved 1, 2, 3 to the left. So 1, 2, 3 to the left, and I get 1.499. So 1,499 milligrams is the same as 1.499 grams. Okay, last one I'm doing with you. Ready? So we're gonna write our number. This one has a decimal, so I don't need to add it. Okay, I see I'm dealing with L, which is liters. Liters is how they measure volume. You've probably got a liter of soda before, or a 2-liter bottle of soda. So it's how much soda is inside the bottle. And I'm dealing with milliliters. Okay, so we're gonna write our little mnemonic device to help us. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Notice how I keep saying it. I know it sounds silly, but if you say it, especially say it out loud every time you write it, you will have this down in a few days. If you don't say the sentence every time, I guarantee you will struggle. Okay, ready? So we're dealing with liters. Liters is a base measurement, again for volume. And we're dealing with milliliters. So milliliters goes over here. Okay, so we're gonna be moving from liters to milliliters. So I'm not going to deci, not going to centi, I'm going to milli. So I went 1, 2, 3 to the right. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3 to the right, and I'll have to add a little 0 there. So my answer is 5, 1, 2, 6, 0, and then I could add my comma. So 51,260. Okay, so probably the hardest thing of this is to remember which one are your base measurements. But if you keep saying them to yourselves, you'll learn them better. So meter again, gram, and liter are base measurements. Okay, you have 3 problems for homework tonight. And then, as always, rate yourself. Have a nice evening, ladies and gentlemen.